You are listening to the Technical Foul Podcast for Thursday, September 27th, 2018. I'm your host, Manny Brown. Coming at you guys a day later than I originally had planned. We had some scheduling issues yesterday with our guest today, Ken from Dead End Hip Hop and Dead End Sports, and Is the Mic Still On, and Dead End Media as a whole, now Dead End Gaming, a whole bunch of crazy things that he's got coming out. So he'll be on to tell you guys about all that stuff later. But yeah, I had some scheduling issues with Ken. He couldn't do the show last night, so we just decided to push it back to today, while this Ram and Vikings game is going on. Rams are up 28-17 so far. So, but yeah, man, hope everybody's had a good week. I've had a good week. Weather's been nice. Just enjoying the last few days of nice weather that we're going to have, cause once it really hits October, like maybe like the second week of October, the weather starts to change here and it just starts to get really crappy for a while. So just enjoying these last few nice days, the first official fall days. So the last real nice, the weather's been really nice. I think it got up to like high 60s today, which is nice. So, yeah, man, just enjoying the weather, good week so far. Everything is good. I hope you guys had a good week as well. As I said earlier, Ken is my guest on this week's show. We're going to debate a whole bunch of things, specifically Todd Bowles and Jameis Winston. You guys know Ken, he's pro-black. So for some godforsaken reason, he continues to defend Jameis Winston and Todd Bowles. So we'll get into it later. And we'll also get into the NFL roughing the passer. We'll just get into a couple of items with Ken it's always a good time when we conversate with Ken, about different things. So yeah. But what is getting good is September baseball, specifically MLB pennant races. This is the time of year where you want this in September. It's always kind of sucky when you end the season on a kind of like ho-hum level, like when everything is decided, when all the races are decided, you really have no real traditional pennant races. And this year, for the first time in a while, we're going to have some drama the last weekend of the baseball season. It's going to be very crazy this weekend because right now you essentially have 5 teams for 4 spots. You got the Rockies, the Cubs, the Dodgers, and the Cardinals, and the Brewers. 5 teams for 4 spots. The 2 divisions are still up for grabs, the NL Central and the NL West. Obviously, right now, the Rockies are leading that division by a game and a half, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Let me go check. And then, of course, you got the Cubs, or you actually got the Brewers and the Cubs. Are they tied in that division? I think I should. Let me do my research. I should have done my research before I jumped on the podcast with you guys today. But, yeah, you basically got the 5 teams for the 4 spots. You got the 2 divisional races going on still. And then, of course, you got the 2 wildcard spots in the NL, all to be decided. The AL is pretty much wrapped up. Yankees and A's. It's going to be Yankees and A's. Now it's all that's up to grabs now is what's the home field advantage. I still think the Yankees still theoretically have a 2-game lead in that department. They have the 1-game lead, but the Yankees also hold the tiebreaker. So it's essentially a 2-game lead. So, the Cubs are up a game on the Brewers in the Central. And then obviously the Rockies are up a game on the Dodgers in the West. So the Cubs and the Rockies lead their respective divisions, but the Dodgers and the Brewers are right behind them. And then, of course, you've got the Cardinals, who are 1 game out of the second wild card spot. So the Cardinals are on the outside looking in. The Cardinals travel to Chicago this weekend, to Wrigley Field, for a 3-game series. The Dodgers will be in San Francisco to face the Giants, and then the Rockies will be playing the Nationals at home. And this weekend's everything. This weekend is essentially everything. This weekend's going to be everything. This weekend is going to be crazy. You could have a scenario where you could have some playing games on Monday afternoon, 2 playing games. Essentially the NL West can end up in a tie. The NL Central can end up in a tie. And then, of course, you still have the wild card playing games on Tuesday and Wednesday. So this weekend's action could be crazy. Right now, how do we even dissect this? Look, the Cubs, to me, and I've been saying this all year, the Cubs have not been impressive all year. The Cubs have just been fucking dicking around for 6 months. They really haven't. The Cubs are a tough team to read because the Cubs, they'll win 10 in a row, then they'll lose 8 out of 10. Then they'll win 7 in a row, then they'll lose 4 straight. Then they'll win 10 out of 13, then they'll lose, 10 out of 13. I mean, it's been a crazy season for the Cubs. The Cubs have really been the most unimpressive 90-win division-leading team. Like, they just haven't been that impressive. And I didn't love their bullpen even before the injuries, and I definitely don't love their bullpen now. Their bullpen now is just a joke. They lost Strope probably for the year. Morrow's definitely out for the year, so I don't love their and now you're left with Carl Edwards and a bunch of guys, and I didn't love their bullpen to begin with, and I just don't love it now. Their rotation's okay. I shouldn't say okay. Their rotation's pretty good, but they're going to need that bullpen if they want to go far in the postseason, and I just don't trust it. And the Cubs have they just can't hit. Bryant's always hurt. Now they got the Addison Russell situation with the domestic abuse. Who knows about the Cubs? I just don't have a good feeling on the Cubs. The Cubs, to me, I mean, is amazing to think about. It is amazing to think about. If I would have asked any baseball fan, when did the season start? March 30th, March 31st, something like that. If I would have asked any baseball fan back then that the Cubs and the Dodgers could potentially both miss the playoffs, you would have laughed in my face. You would have told me you're full of shit and that you're smoking and you're doing drugs and a whole bunch of, like, you would have told me every expletive under the book. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh no, what, the Cubs? No way. I mean, people thought that the Brewers were going to be good and improve, but nobody would have predicted this. Nobody would have predicted that the Cubs have a potential opportunity to miss the playoffs as a whole. Now, I don't think it's going to happen, but it's a possibility. It is very much a possibility. So the Cubs better be careful this weekend, and the Cubs better wake the fuck up. I mean, they got lucky last night. They barely won a game against the fucking Pirates, who came back from being down 6-2 in the 8th inning just imagine that. The Cubs just haven't played well. I haven't been that impressed with the Cubs. The Cardinals had that streak after they fired Matheny. They played well for new manager Mike Schild. Everything was going great, and then they just went into September and they just haven't played well. They've just I don't want to say collapsed, but they just haven't played well in September. And, they got roughed up by the Brewers here this past week. Well, really it started that series, a week ago or 10 days ago, when they got roughed up by the Dodgers. They lost 3 out of 4. And then they got swept by the Brewers, yesterday. And the Cardinals now are in a situation where they've got to take 2 out of 3 this weekend. They have to. I mean, if the Cardinals out of all the 5 teams, the Cardinals are in the toughest situation because the Cardinals really need to take 2 out of 3 and also hope that the Giants beat the Dodgers 2 out of 3. So that's the situation that the Cardinals are in. The Cardinals basically need to take care of their own business and also get help in order for them to get into the playoffs, or at least be in a situation where they're playing a playing game. So the Cardinals are in trouble. I think the Rockies are in good shape. The Rockies just got to take care of business this weekend against the Nationals team, who knows what their mindset's going to be. The Nationals have been out of it for a while. There's a possibility that they may not pitch Scherzer this weekend. Who knows how long, Strasburg's going to go on the start that he's scheduled to have. I believe it's Saturday. So the Rockies are in a good shape. I mean, the Rockies essentially have to take 2 out of 3. The Rockies have done well this season. I thought the Rockies were done last week when they lost those just terrible games to the Dodgers. Like, the Dodgers went in there and just, essentially I thought the Dodgers basically took their heart. And the Rockies, and it's crazy because the Rockies have had this type of season. They've had this season where they'll go on these incredible highs, these amazing dramatic wins, and then they'll have these just completely horrific, just awful, just gut-wrenching losses. But that's been the Rockies season. I mean, they've been able to bounce back. They've taken right hands, left and right, and they've just been able to bounce back. So, the Rockies are in a good situation right now. The Rockies can essentially wrap this division up. They got to take 2 out of 3. Hope the Giants at the very least, take 1 game from them. And, and the Rockies should be at least in a good position to just win the division outright. Now, I don't think they'll have, I think if the Rockies take 2 out of 3 and they got a 1 game lead right now, lose 1, 2 games. Yeah, I think if the Rockies do take care of their business and take 2 out of 3, I don't think they'll sweep, but if they take 2 out of 3 and the Dodgers somehow lose 2 out of 3 to the Giants, then I think the Rockies are in great shape because they're going to win that division. No matter what the Cardinals do against the Cubs. Well, yeah, if the Cardinals end up taking 2 out of 3 or even sweeping the Cubs, then Brewers win the division. It's interesting. I'm playing out all these scenarios in my head. Man, it's crazy. You need like a fucking capologist or some shit, bracketologist to play out these scenarios. It's interesting. Yeah, I think right now, without having a crystal ball in front of me, I think the Cardinals are going to play well this weekend in Chicago. It's just a funny feeling I have. I don't like the Cubs. I don't like the vibe around the Cubs. They haven't played well all year, and then they got the Addison Russell thing. I just don't like the vibe around the Cubs. Oh man. I think the Cardinals are going to walk into Chicago and take 2 out of 3. I really do. And then you have the Giants and the Dodgers, the classic rivals, and everybody's pissed off that the Giants moved up Bumgarner. So Bumgarner was supposed to start today. Against San Diego, and they pushed him back till he can start the opening game of the series against the Giants. Against the Dodgers. And everybody in baseball was just had a fucking conniption. Oh, that's not in the spirit of the game. And what are the Giants doing? And that's not right. And blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, when the fuck did the game become so fucking soft? First and foremost, the Giants don't owe the Dodgers anything. First of all, they've been rivals for 100 fucking years. The Giants don't like the Dodgers, and the Dodgers don't like the Giants. Plus, if I'm a fan of the Giants, I'm applauding this. The Giants have been terrible all year. Why not give me one bit of excitement this year? Why not give me one thing I can cheer about by being spoilers and potentially ruining the Dodgers season? Why not give your fans something like that? And to me, this is the perfect opportunity. The Giants have been bad all year. Why not go out here, play great for 3 games, and have an opportunity to steal your biggest rival's biggest moments by making it into the playoffs, or potentially costing them a playoff appearance? Or at the very least, making them uncomfortable, making them sweat, making them put them in a situation that they don't want to be in, which is playing a play-in game on Monday, either against the Rockies or against the Cardinals, just to make the playoffs, just to play the next night, another elimination game. Like, this idea, what is going on? This is the problem with baseball. You got Jim Bowden's of the world. Oh, that's not in the spirit of the game. Shut up, Jim. Shut the fuck up. Go be a failed GM somewhere else. Like, stop. And I like Jim Bowden, but I mean, seriously? First of all, the idea that this isn't, this is classless, or this is some kind of, Bush League fucking tactic. Like, oh, teams don't do this, or this is not real. Like, no, matter of fact, I wish we see more of this. I wish we saw more of this in baseball, not just in baseball, but in football and basketball. You bet your fucking ass that if it's game 16, week 17 of the NFL season, and my Jets are 5-10, and the Dolphins are playing for a fucking playoff spot, you fucking right. I want to see the Jets play hard. I want to see the Jets play all their starters. I want to see the Jets play Sam Darnold. Like, I don't want to see the Jets in week 17 say, we're 5-10. The Dolphins are playing for a playoff spot. You know what? We're not going to start Darnold. We're going to play McCown instead. No, fuck that. Play your best and try to play spoilers. That's what I want. That's in the spirit of the game. That's in the letter of that's in the true competitive spirit of the game. Don't give me this bullshit that, oh, well, it's not good. What's it worth to the Giants to spoil the Dodgers stuff? And, oh, they're going to get Bumgarner hurt. First of all, Bumgarner's not going to pitch from now until February at the very earliest. So, like, he's going to be off for 5 months. So this is not going to cause him some kind of injury. It's the last game of the season. It's his last start of the season. And not to mention, he missed the first 2.5 months of the season anyway. So Bumgarner's fresh by comparison. So it's not like he's thrown 300 innings. So the whole idea is stupid in itself. But I want to see this in all sports. In the NBA, I want to see this. You damn right. Game 82, the Lakers are 30-50 or some shit. Yeah. I want to see them play their best. I want to see them play their starters and try to knock out the Warriors from a playoff spot or name a team. Same thing in hockey, same thing in any sport. This is what you do. So this idea, this narrative that the Giants are doing something terrible is beyond me. I don't understand that. That's this new age analytical baseball crap that you can't pitch your best pitchers and, you're a team that's in a situation where you're a bottom feeder or you're a last place team. What are you gaining from it? Fuck that. The Giants did the right thing, and I'm glad the Giants did it. So, yeah. So the Dodgers are in a situation where they're going to have to face Bumgarner, and I guarantee you right now, I just got a funny feeling the Giants are going to play tough. I don't think they're going to win all 3 games, and I don't even think they might win 2. But I think the Giants are going to be pesky this weekend. I think they're going to want to do everything in their power to knock out LA. But I still think LA will find a way to win 2 out of 3. They got their 2 best pitchers going on Saturday and Sunday. They got Kershaw on Saturday. They got Walker Buehler, the rookie, on Sunday. The Sunday one's a little tricky because I can see that rookie kind of, even though he's been good and he's probably one of the leaders for NL Rookie of the Year along with Juan Soto. And no, he's probably going to finish 3rd with, I forgot about, Acuna. But, Walker Buehler's had a great year. So, but a rookie in that situation, game 162, your team's fighting for a playoff spot. It's a little bit iffy, but the Dodgers have their best pitchers. So yeah, they should take 2 out of 3. And then the Brewers just basically have to take care of business. The Brewers are in a good spot because they've already clinched a playoff spot. So the Brewers can no worse be in a situation where they're hosting a wild card game on Tuesday night. The Brewers are basically taking care of business. Now this is bonus for the Brewers. Now this is gravy for the Brewers because now the Brewers are in a situation where they're like, we smell blood in the water. The Cubs are going to if the Cubs are going to hand us this division, then we're going to fucking take it. So the Brewers are in a good spot. You know what I'm saying? They don't have to necessarily kill themselves. They're in a good spot. They're in a good situation. I just don't like how the Cubs, everybody's talking about the Dodgers and how they've played and the situation that they've put themselves in. But I really haven't liked how the Cubs have been playing. The Cubs have been a nomadic fucking team for the entire year. They've been up and down, up and down, up and down. It's been a hard team to read. And then of course you have all these injuries piling up. They can't hit. Their bullpen's a fucking joke. Now you got the Addison Russell situation going on. I just don't like the vibe around the Cubs. I know they won last night, so, they kind of got a reprieve a little bit, but still, I just don't like what I've seen from the Cubs. So I'm actually more concerned about the Cubs than I am the Dodgers in a funny. I still think the Dodgers are going to find a way to get into the playoffs. I really do. I still do. And I think the Cubs, for that matter, will still luck out and make the playoffs. It's going to be hard for St. Louis because St. Louis needs a lot of help. St. Louis needs a lot of help. St. Louis needs the Dodgers to definitively lose 2 games. They need to win 2 games, which is not going to be easy because the Cubs are going to need those games too. So I just don't see it. I don't see it. I can see the Cardinals playing well this weekend, but I don't know if they're going to take 2 out of 3, especially if the Cubs need those games. I don't see it happening. Yeah, I can see the Dodgers taking 2 out of 3 from the Giants. Can see the Cubs taking 2 out of 3. See, now what I would like to see, I would love to see a wild card playing game with the Dodgers and the Cubs on Tuesday night. That will be fucking lit. That is a good, you talk about ratings. That is probably the best ratings baseball could get right there for a wild card playing game. That probably will go down as the highest rated wild card game ever. The Dodgers and the Cubs, 1 game, winner take all. That is theater right there. That is great theater. If you ask me what I think is going to happen, you know what? The hell with it. I think the Brewers are going to win the division. I think the Cubs are going to end up as the wild card because I think the Cubs are going to lose 2 out of 3 to the Cardinals. I think the Rockies will take care of business against the Nationals. And I think the Dodgers will take 2 out of 3. And by take care of business against the Nationals, I think that the Rockies will win 2 out of 3. If they win 2 out of 3, then that ensures the Rockies the division. St. Louis still ends up 1 game out. and the Dodgers. So essentially, the Rockies win the division, Brewers win their division, and Cubs win the first wild card, and the Dodgers end up with the second wild card. Fuck it. I know that was like my wishful thinking. This is what I would like to see, but I'm going to go ahead and predict it because it's possible. It is very possible. It is also possible that we end up with the Brewers, so let's say the Cubs, let's say the Cardinals take 2 out of 3. The Dodgers lose 2 out of 3. Rockies take care of business. Brewers take care of business. The Rockies win the NL West. The Brewers take the NL Central. And you have a situation where it's Brewers Cardinals. I mean, you can have Brewers Cardinals. You could even have Cubs Cardinals. Crazy as it sounds. You can have Cubs and for the wild card game, yeah. You could essentially have Cubs Cardinals because the Brewers can win the division. Cubs end up as the first wild card. Cardinals as the second. And then the Rockies win the NL West. And Dodgers end up out of the playoffs. Then, of course, you could also have Brewers Dodgers. I mean, you could have a different combination. You could have Brewers Rockies. Dodgers get hot, sweep the Giants, win the NL West. Rockies struggle. Hell, even if the Rockies take 2 out of 3, if the Dodgers win 3 straight against the Giants, which I don't think is going to happen, Dodgers win the NL West, and Rockies end up as the second wild card. And then, of course, I mean, we could have total madness, and you could have 2 play-in games on Monday, where essentially you have the Rockies and the Dodgers tied, and then you have the Cubs and the Brewers tied. And then you have 2 play-in games on Monday afternoon. They're not going to play at night because because one of those teams has to play, or 2 of those teams, 2 of the 4 teams have to play the next night in the wildcard game. So they're not going to have them play at night because it's going to be it's just a disadvantage to whoever's playing. So they're not going to have those teams playing at night. So it's crazy. This shit is lit right now. Like this is what makes baseball fun. Cause you could have 2 playing games on Monday. You have the Cubs and the Brewers. That'll be in Chicago. And then you can have Rockies and Dodgers, and that'll be in LA. I believe. I know for a fact that the Cubs if the Cubs and the Brewers end up tied, the game will be in Chicago. I'm not sure about the Rockies and Dodgers. I also believe it's going to be in LA too. If that ended up. So you could have that situation. Right now, the team that needs the most help is the Cardinals. The Cardinals are in a tough situation. The Cardinals need the most help right now. Cause they essentially need to take care of their own business in Chicago. They need to take at the very least 2 out of 3 and then hope and pray that the Giants take 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers. And that's asking for a lot because the Giants have just been bad. Posey's out. Samardzija's the biggest waste of space ever. So that's asking a lot from the Giants. But I mean, it's not impossible. It's not impossible. I think the Giants are going to play well this weekend. I really do. I think the Giants are going to be up for the task. I think they're going to want nothing better than to pay the Dodgers back for 93. I got a funny feeling about the Giants. I still think the Dodgers are good though. I still think I'm more like, again, I just can't say it enough. I can't believe that the Cubs are in this situation. I really don't. Like even the Dodgers, I figured the Dodgers would have a little bit of a hangover, winning 105 games, losing in the World Series the way they did. That division's competitive. I still figured that I could, if you asked me at the beginning of the year, who was it more likely? I could see the Dodgers. I couldn't see the Cubs. I felt like if nothing worse, the Cubs weren't going to be in a competitive divisional race all year with the Brewers, which ended up happening. But I can't imagine the Cubs not making the postseason. Or being in this situation in general. That's crazy. That just goes to show you that the Cubs have fucked around and dicked around for the entire season. That's what that shows you. That they fucked around and dicked around for the entire season and now they're putting themselves in this situation. And they made all those deals at the trade deadline and their asses could end up out of the playoffs. And wouldn't have happened to a better fan base if you ask me. Because you guys know I can't stand the Cubs. They're stupid ass. Let the Cubs go. That Chicago Waves. Shut the fuck up. Oh, I can't stand the Cubs. I can't stand their fans. Their fans are annoying. But it's interesting. The Cubs could end up out of the playoffs. The Cubs can end up playing out of the playoffs. Or in a one-game situation against the Dodgers. That's going to be crazy. That's going to be crazy. So that's basically it. That's basically your weekend situation, basically all rolled into one right there. I mean, that's basically your pennant race baseball right there. Like I said, the American League is still, it's just a matter of semantics. It's just a matter of, is Oakland going to host a game or the Yankees going to host? And the Yankees magic number, I believe, is 1 or 2. The Yankees play the Red Sox this weekend in Boston. The Red Sox don't need the games. It's just, I actually think the Red Sox are actually going to play those games hard. I don't think they're going to go all out. I don't think they're going to go crazy, but I think they will play hard because I think they're going to want to knock the Yankees around a little bit. They're going to want to put the Yankees in a situation where they're going to have to get on a plane and fly to Oakland. I still think though, who the fuck is Oakland play? I don't know off the top of my head who Oakland plays, but I still think, Oakland will take 2 out of 3 from whoever they're playing. Oh, they're playing the Angels in Anaheim. Interesting. I think final weekend of the season could be Socha's last weekend as Angels manager. I can see the Angels taking 2 out of 3. And then I think I can see, and if the Angels take 2 out of 3 from the A's, then all the Yankees have to do is just win one game. I think the Yankees are capable of winning one game this weekend, definitely. So yeah, I think regardless of the situation, because I'm not going to break down the American League too much, regardless of what happens, I still think Wednesday night will be in Yankee Stadium, A's Yankees in the wild card. And I'll make a prediction on that next week because I can't even think of it right now. That's a toss up. That is a toss-up. The way the Yankees have played, the way the A's have played, on opposite ends of the spectrum, the A's have played great. Really all second half. I mean, they've been like something crazy, like 61 and 26 since June. Oh my God, that's crazy. Or something. I know they've won like 60 games since June, which is crazy when you think about it. And they're at 97 wins or 96 wins. So think about that. That's just mind-boggling. And the Yankees haven't, and I've discussed this every show really since all summer long and going into the fall. Like the Yankees haven't played well. The Yankees haven't played well in a long time. So, I mean, it's really a toss-up game. But that's basically your story in the American League. Everything else is wrapped up. The A's or the Astros are the division champs. The Indians obviously won that horrible fucking AL Central. And then, of course, the Red Sox are on their historic pace. They're at 107 wins right now. They could finish with 110 wins if they sweep the Yankees this weekend. I don't think they'll sweep the Yankees. I think they'll take most likely 2 out of 3. So they'll probably end up with 109 wins, which is crazy win total. So we haven't seen this many wins since, the Mariners in 2001, 116. And we know what happened to the Mariners. So hopefully the Red Sox will be shooting not to be a footnote in history. Cause like I've always said, it doesn't matter what records you set in the regular season. If you don't win a championship, if you don't cap it with a championship, it means absolutely nothing. Ask the Warriors if anybody cares about 73-9. Ask the Warriors. So, but that's it, man. I'll stop rambling about baseball. Hope I didn't put you guys to sleep a little bit. You know, you non-baseball lovers out there. Like I said earlier, I got my man Kenneth B Inge on the podcast, man. He's the patriarch over there at Dead End Media, man. He just does a lot of great things. I pick his brain for a lot of things, not just sports, but just everything, podcasting, getting started in business, everything, man. So he's a good dude. He's joining us on the podcast. We're going to debate, I believe, hot and heavy about Jameis Winston and Todd Bowles and some other topics, but we'll see. We'll see where the conversation steers us. But, yeah, man, Ken will join me on the show in a little bit. I'm just going to take a quick break and then, we'll be back. We'll probably also get into that Jimmy Butler situation. I can't believe the whole Jimmy Butler situation. Like, I really can't. Since when did Jimmy Butler become this great player? I don't even want to get into a rant. We're going to take a quick break and then we'll be back with Ken on the podcast. All right. Soldier City on the beat, boy.
City on the beat, boy.
Welcome back to the show, and I am joined by our guest this week. He is the head honcho, El Presidente, the captain of the ship, the Suge Knight of the operation for Dead End Media. He is the host and co-star and producer of Dead End Hip Hop, of Dead End Sports, Is the Mic Still On, now Dead End Gaming, and a whole bunch of other things and projects that I'm sure he's going to let us all know about. Mr. Kenneth B. Inge, how are you, sir?
Yo, what up? What's good?
Not much, man. Just living the American dream every day. What's going on with you?
Nothing much, man. Just sitting here. I just started the game on. Was playing a little bit of that new Spider-Man earlier this evening, and just had some time to get ready for the show.
I feel you, man. I feel you. How's everything over at Dead End, man?
Things are good. Things are growing. We're finally launching Dead End Gaming into his own separate feed. So that's the big thing that we got going on this week. There's My Still On podcast still doing this thing, and we got a show with Is that we hope to get dropped next week on the YouTube channel, and we're still doing the vinyl stuff with Curb Vibes. Shout out to Curb Vibes, and trying to get one more, a couple more for the channel that we're talking through, and then Nick from the No Disrespect podcast came on board full time after being a guest, so he actually records at the studios.
Oh, okay, cool.
So
cool.
We've had him on a couple of times because I think he used to do a sports show with his podcast.
Okay.
And he was just kind of maybe, I think he basically invited himself. So yeah, I was like, all right, cool. Well, come through, and he sat in, and it worked out. So
that's what's up.
That's pretty much it.
Cool. Well, I wanted to have you on this week's show because we have some interesting topics to get into. You and I always go back and forth on Twitter, through text, whatever, about your boy Jameis. And this week was a good week because obviously we have the not so subtle QB controversy. I don't want to say controversy. Competition issue, whatever adjective you want to use to describe it. Between the Buccaneers and two QBs, Ryan Fitzpatrick and Jameis Winston. As you guys know, for those of you who have heard the show, you guys know, Ken is a pro brother on a lot of things. I'm pro brother too, but I'm also a realistic person, and I like to look at both sides. I like to be fair across the board in my criticism or praise, whichever way. Ken is pro brother all the way, no matter what. And this is one we butt heads on. So without further ado, fight me off on this notion that Jameis Winston will not and should not have his job back.
Well, he's going to get the job back. It's only a matter of time. It's inevitable because we know exactly what's going to happen with Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
So we can sit here and play the games, and if people want to be fair to Fitzpatrick or put him out there, let him, the man don't ever seem to lose confidence. But if they want to put him out there and have him go out there and do what he normally does and lose the job and put Jameis back in, so be it. I'm against that because he did his job. He was to come in as the backup, play those 3 games, and that was it. It's no different than what happened with Ezekiel Elliott when he was suspended and guys came in and they did the job. Now, were they running up and down the field the way he was? Not necessarily, but their job as backups is to come in and basically hold the fort down. And he did that, and he did it in a way that no one imagined because what we know from Fitz is what he's always displayed. So this is him basically playing above his means, and it's just caught the world, by something. Everybody's happy and excited and woo, look at Fitz. And it's not like they've never seen it before. The Saints defense is horrible. That's no shocker. The Steelers defense is horrible. That's no shocker. That he put up the numbers that he did. Philly, hey, they don't look like their defense is on top of the world right now. And we're talking about the first 3 weeks of the season where teams are still trying to figure things out. So for me, when I look at this situation, I look at the fact that my franchise quarterback is back. I need to evaluate him on the field to see if he's taking the steps as a quarterback to warrant me extending him for the rest of his contract or the next year or however they want to do it. So he needs to play. Is Cutter the coach for Jameis Winston? We need to know that because we fired Lovie Smith for him. So I would have put him back out there if it was me because that's the guy that's supposed to lead this organization, this franchise to a Super Bowl at some point during his career.
Okay, so now let me play devil's advocate for a second. You know where I stand on this. I'm gonna play the other side of this. What would you say to a fan or whoever that said, okay, Jameis Winston's, been in this league now, 4 years? I think this is his 4th year.
Mm-hmm.
He's 18 and 27 as a starter. Is that all his fault? No. I think even the biggest Jameis Winston hater can admit that that's not all his fault. However you want to slice up the pie, give percentage point, whatever. It's not all his fault. But the facts are the facts. He's 18 and 27 as a starter. They have not won. He's had his moments on the field, but if we're being honest with ourselves, he's been average to above average at best these last 4 years. And that's if we're being generous. Haven't we seen enough of Jameis Winston? And this is just on the field. Now you add the component of the off the field antics. Say what you want to say about them. It's a hit job. It's this and that and the other. I'm not going to sit there and speculate. You and I both weren't there. We don't know what happened at FSU, although I have my opinions. There's been reports being made or coverage on the whole issue, whatever. We know what happened in FSU, or we at least know what's been reported at FSU. You and I both weren't there at the Uber situation with the girl 2 years ago. We don't know what happened. But are these things enough to scare you or for you to see from the other perspective and say, damn, I like Jameis, but damn, I gotta sit back for a second and say, is this my franchise quarterback? Is this a guy that I can give $25 million to and feel confident that he can be the face of my franchise?
I've seen enough because, being in that organization and based on the things that I've heard, what I know is that for the last 2 years, Jameis has been squeaky clean. And that's from people, like you said, we're not there. People that are there have been reporting this to people in the media. I think Derek Brooks may have been one of them. I think Chris Carter has talked to people that are within that organization. So these are things that are being reported. The incident in question, of course, is something that happened in 2016. The NFL, in typical fashion, is slow, and they punished him this year based on their investigation because they're judge, jury, and executioner. And, when I think about that whole situation and how it went down, Jameis was almost forced into a corner because we saw what happened with Ezekiel Elliott, who his accuser came, and denied it and backtracked. And they still punished him. So what would Jameis have gained if he would continue to fight it? So Jameis decided, let's just go ahead and get it out of the way and let's move on. Because Jameis know and people within the organization know, and they are saying that he's been good. Last 2 years, no problem. So if you are in that organization, you know what you had coming in, but you are also seeing progress. Progress not only do you see in his ability to stay out of trouble since that situation, but his stats have improved, and he's gotten better statistically every single year he's been a starting quarterback. So for me, based on that, and based on how he's behaved over the last 2 years, I would feel comfortable extending him because his talent is obvious. It's hard to find talented guys like that. So I would be willing to make that move.
So you're willing to lock him up long term, 25, maybe even, I don't think you get $30 million, but $25 million. You're willing to make that commitment on Jameis Winston. You've seen enough from Jameis Winston that makes you feel on the field, off the field, to make you feel comfortable with that decision.
Absolutely. 100%.
Man,
I have no worries.
Man,
I'm more worried about Cutter than Jameis Winston.
Okay, well, let's look at this from the Cutter angle. Okay, because I think this is a multi-layered situation. I don't think it's just one aspect of this. I think this is multiple levels. Now you look at Dirk Cutter. Say what you will about Dirk Cutter and should he still have his job, or, you know, how Lovie Smith was treated, whatever. Look at it from the Dirk Cutter situation. This is a guy that's on the hot seat, that's coaching for his job. Let's just say, I know and for the record, I'm with you on Fitzpatrick. Like, I'm a Jets fan. You don't have to sell me on Fitzpatrick. I know this. My whole stance on this situation is that I'm not sure that Jameis Winston is your franchise guy, but that's where I stand. But look at this from the Dirk Cutter situation. You're looking at a guy who's coaching for his job, who's on the hot seat. Let's just say, for the sake of discussion, in 2 or 3 weeks, the Bucks are what, 5-1? I don't think they'll be 5-1, but for the sake of argument, 5-1, or at best 4-2. You keep winning. Your team is playing well. You're playing inspired. If you're Dirk Cutter, are you making that move to bring Jameis Winston back and potentially upset whatever it is that you have going on? Are you making that move? Look at it from the Dirk Cutter from the Dirk Cutter aspect of this. I mean, this is a guy that's coaching for his job.
Dirk Cutter's not making that move. There's no way, because he's also paid to win football games, and as long as they're winning, he's going to continue to roll with that. So, he's not going to make that move. I think, we've seen. And
can you understand him not making that move? Like, can you understand that? Like, can you being a Jameis Winston guy, can you understand that? Like, let's say this team is rolling and they have a chance to go 10-6, 11-5, make the playoffs. I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but let's just imagine if that's the situation. Can you understand that? Like, can you understand Dirk Cutter saying, I even if I know long term this may not be the best decision, I have to keep rolling with Ryan Fitzpatrick?
I would understand it. I wouldn't agree with it, because they're still they're in an awkward situation, because maybe Ryan Fitzpatrick and maybe the Bucks go on to win the Super Bowl. Congratulations, right?
Right.
Maybe they pull what the Eagles did last year. They still don't know whether or not Jameis can at least do the job for them. Right. Because does Dirk Cutter know if Jameis can play in that offense? What can we say about Ryan Fitzpatrick? The man's been around for a while. So he's seen a lot of different offenses. He's a veteran. Right. So he knows how to play the game. He has the experience that Jameis doesn't have. So if they go 10-6, if they go 11-5 or 12-4, and they make the playoffs, there's still that lingering question on what to do with Jameis Winston, and it's not answered. And then you go 12-4, you get to the playoffs, you lose, and for what? You had a great season, but what are you going to do with Jameis? Because now you have nothing to support your decision on whether to bring him back or not. Because you're not bringing Ryan Fitzpatrick back. You may. He's going to try to, what he did to the Jets. He's going to try to get his...
Don't remind me.
So, So he may bring it back because you still have some unanswered questions with Jameis Winston. I don't know, and I'm saying may because I don't know his contract situation. But that question still has to be answered. And maybe you franchise him and let him play out another year and see what happens. But I would understand it, but, when I look at where you want to go organizationally, you need an answer at that QB situation. And from what I've heard and seen, this upcoming draft is not a quarterback draft.
No, it's not. It's not. But also, what if the Buccaneers? Now I know some people are reporting that they still love Jameis Winston, whatever. Fine, you know how these reports are. They love you until they don't love you. And what if they feel this way? Like, hey, we don't know either way. If this guy is the guy, let's just ride the hot hand. There's not many chances in this league. You get a chance to win a division and go 10-6, 11-5. Let's ride the hot hand. Let's go with it. Either way, we're fucked. Like, either way, like, we don't know if Jameis Winston's the guy or not. Let's just ride. Let's just go with it and just deal with it next year. Or maybe they know the answer. Like, maybe they know, like, maybe they feel like I feel like I don't think this guy's the guy. Cause I have heard that people in their building are split on Jameis Winston. Now, the majority of people still love Jameis Winston and I guess the important people still love Jameis Winston, but there are some people split in that organization about Jameis Winston. And this is just on the field. Forget the off the field component. This is just on the field because I think you can't ignore that, say what you want to say about Jameis Winston, that he's 18-27 as a starter. They haven't won and he has improved and he's had his moments. I'm not going to sit here and dog him completely and say that he hasn't shown flashes of brilliance. He has. But that's all they've been. It's been flashes. There hasn't been a consistent week in and week out where you sit there and say, Jameis Winston, this guy, he's a guy. He is the guy. No doubt about it. I have no doubts. There just hasn't been those moments consistently.
Well, I think it depends on what they're playing for. If they're playing to win the division, then if Fitz stay hot, then they'll keep him in.
Right.
Just to have a winning season. Just to keep, the spirits up in Tampa. But if they're playing for the future and with hopes to win a Super Bowl at some point with Jameis, and when you look ahead at what's coming,
right.
Do you see another Jameis Winston in the draft? No. Or Carson Wentz or Deshaun Watson, guys that we've seen get on the field and play with talent. With talent and skill and ability, right? So I don't know. I don't see it out there, and if they don't see it out there with their scouting, then that's something that they're gonna have to decide. So I think if it was if we were dealing with RG3 versus Kirk Cousins, you know what? It's different because they're both young,
right?
And they both has a bright future ahead of them, possible, but we're dealing with a guy in which we already know the answer to the question. With Jameis, we don't have that yet. So, and I think that's what make this difficult. And Jameis, and you may have heard this and seen this already. Jameis already, he told him, he was like, Fitz gonna light it up. And he went out there and did that. But we saw remnants of the old Fitz come back in a half. And then, as people want to say, well, he had a great, second half. Well, the second half is what we expected the whole game because of one thing, the Steelers defense.
Right.
So for him to have that great second half, it's not surprising to me. But I think it just all depends on what, as an organization, they really want to do. If they want to win the division and if they got a shot to win the division, then they'll probably just go ahead and keep him in and ride the hot hand. I don't think anybody could fault them for that.
Right.
Besides me.
Well, yeah, we know you will. We know you will. I will say this. See, we're making progress. I overall agree with you. I think you're a little higher on Jameis than I am, but it is what it is. I think they'll give it the next 2, maybe 3 games. I think if they win 2 out of 3, I think Fitz is the starter for the foreseeable future. I think either way, if they have a good season, Fitz is going to be the starter. Like, I don't think they're going to make that switch. And I think their plan will be, okay, we'll keep Fitz as the starter for the season, see how it plays out. Now if they just completely collapse, let's say in like week 8, week 9 or something like that, then of course you'll see Jameis. But if they stay hot, they play well all throughout, I think Fitz is the guy. And then I think they'll franchise Jameis next year, or they'll come to some kind of a short-term incentive-laden deal. I don't think they're going to give up on Jameis Winston after this year. I really do. Either way, I don't think they'll give up on Jameis Winston. Like, I think he's still too young. He's a number 1 overall pick. These organizations are going to give those guys infinite amounts of opportunities, as they should, because they're, you invested time and money and energy into these guys. So that's what I think eventually will play out, though. So I'm kind of with you in certain aspects.
Jameis was out here looking like Mike Trubisky.
Mitch. Yeah, Trubisky. I mean, Trubisky's been iffy. I mean, but I was never in love with Trubisky anyway. I was like, a dude from North Carolina? Like, okay. Like, I saw him play a couple games and I liked him. I was like, he's got some talent. I can see why teams like him, but I was never in love with him. But yeah, Trubisky's not playing well. I mean, he hasn't lit the world up on fire. Trubisky better thank God that he's got a decent offensive coordinator offensive coordinator / head coach and a defense.
Well, but we haven't seen upside at all with Trubisky. I guess it's the point.
I don't want to be, he's going into his second year. I don't want to sit there and just basically dismiss the guy already, but if you're asking me, have I been impressed? I have not been impressed, as most people haven't.
Right.
I would agree.
Right.
I would agree. So now to the next topic, our dear friend Todd Bowles. I think this one's going to be a little bit more heated because obviously I have a bias on this issue. I'm a Jet fan. You are a Todd Bowles supporter. You think that man has gotten unfair and undue criticism. And I think he's probably the worst coach we've had since Rich Kotite. So you fight me off on that. Fight me off. Tell me why Todd Bowles deserves to keep his job past this season. Tell me why myself and the majority of Jets Nation is wrong about Todd Bowles. Sell us on your man. Sell us on your boy.
Man, you know what? It always comes down to talent for me. What is he working with? And we've seen that roster over the last few years, and he wasn't working with much. As a matter of fact, it was so bad that last year they thought they were going to go 0-16. They thought they were not going to win a game. And he got 5 wins, I think, or so.
He did. Now, to be fair, they lost 4 games in the fourth quarter they should have won easily. And two of them off the top of my head were his time management. Like, to be fair, I think you have to look at both aspects of that. They easily could have won 8-9 games last year. Easily. So I think you have to look at the entire story. But go ahead. My bad. It's the Jet fan in me coming out.
Could have potentially won 9 games last year with little to no talent, right? Since you put those 4 losses on him, which
I didn't say I wasn't. I didn't say I was putting the 4 losses on him. I said 2 of those losses off the top of my head, and I'm being kind, were on his just dumb, moronic time management.
Yeah. So, and I didn't see those games, so I'm taking you at your word. So okay. So let's pencil them in for those 2. So 7 and 9 with little to no talent. So for me, if you can do that with essentially nothing, then what could you do with something? So you got the quarterbacks. You got everybody's darling, Sam Darnold. Oh, everybody loves Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's the man. We finally got it. The Jets, came out here and they stole something from Cleveland. And so here we go. So now you got a quarterback, and everybody always says it starts with the QB. So now you need a running back. You don't have that yet.
I disagree, but okay.
Some respect. Isaiah Crowell's okay.
And Bilal Powell. You just going to just dismiss Bilal Powell?
Yeah, I am.
Are you serious? Bilal Powell has been criminally underused for years. Bilal Powell is a better running back than. But I will.
Matt Forte, I've been waiting for them to use him. I don't know why they haven't. But again, he's just never getting an opportunity. So there has to be something.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. I know every time he plays, and most Jet fans will agree, every time Bilal Powell plays, he does something impactful and positive. So,
and it could be because he has limited opportunities. You know, sometimes when you give guys more chances, they have more chances to fail, and instead of more chances to succeed. You know, it's weird that way. But yeah, I think, you know, of course, we all know what they did in 2015 with Ryan Fitzpatrick, a game in which they should have been in the Super Bowl, and we all know that what happened there. And overall, I mean, I think that with the little bit of talent that he's had there that I can recall, he still somehow has managed to win 21 games. He hasn't been great the last 2 years. Then in 2016, they thought he was going to take a step forward. But it didn't happen. I think that was the contract dispute with Ryan Fitzpatrick, you know, that year. So, you know, there was some organizational decisions there. They couldn't get into, you know, make a firm decision on what to do with him. And maybe they got off to a slow start, I suppose. But overall, man, like, I just think that for me, you know, should he be, now that, if we believe in Sam Darnold, you know, we should see what he does this year with that guy. And I believe that, and I know they've already said him, but I just think that I want to see what he does with talent. Same thing I did with Hugh Jackson. I said the same thing with Hugh. And, you know, people throw Todd Bowles in my face, but Todd Bowles had a pretty bad team. He managed to at least win 5 games. Yeah, that's true, but everybody know what a dumpster fire, Cleveland was, and they have far worse talent than the Jets, if you ask me. But Cleveland, we've seen Hugh with talent. They've been highly competitive, and they finally got a game at the expense of Sam Darnold. So I'm gonna watch, and I want to see what he does now, moving forward. I'm not completely sold on the receivers as I once was, but it also could be the restrictions they're putting on Sam Darnold right now as a rookie quarterback. So they're probably not letting him loose. So that remains to be seen. Because I thought Robbie Anderson was the guy.
Oh, don't get me started. Don't get me started on Robbie Anderson. Don't get me started on Robbie Anderson. Go ahead.
But, you know, they're not throwing anything downfield. So I just want to see I just want the brother to get a fair shot with at least the quarterback, instead of just being a bridge till they get the quarterback.
Would you agree that this is a results-driven business? At the end of the day, we can talk about talent. We can talk about, you know, quarterback, no quarterback. We can talk about all those things. At the end of the day, would you agree that this is a results-driven business, right? That if you're in management, you're evaluating the entirety of the picture of everything that's on the table. You're looking at all the facts. This is a guy that went 10-6 his first year. Now that was a talented team. Remember, they brought in Revis back. They brought Cromartie in. They spent tons of money on players. They brought him in, and he had a good year. Now, mind you, there were 10-5 going into week 17 against a dead, dispirited, just lousy Buffalo Bills team. I put that game on Todd Bowles. He didn't have his team ready to play. He didn't. And as a coach, your number one, besides game planning, what?
People love saying that.
He didn't have his team. He didn't. But think about it, Ken. Like that team, and I don't remember if you even watched that game, or I don't know if you watched that game, or you probably didn't. It was week 17. There was other competitive games on. That game, that team was just not ready to play. Any Jet fan will tell you. Any Jet fan with a brain will tell you that team came out. Lethargic. Now, second half they picked it up. They made it a game. They had, as bad as they played, they had opportunities still to win the game. But that team came out lackadaisical, not prepared, not ready to play. That's on the coach. There's no argument that's on the coach. I know people say, players play, coaches coach. I get that. But as a coach, you got to get your guys motivated. Well, however you got to do. However you got to, you know what I'm saying? You got to give an impactful speech. You got to cut somebody. However you have to get guys motivated and ready to play, that is your job. That is why you make $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, in some cases, 5, 6, 7 million. To get your guys ready to play. And I would argue, and I would debate again with anybody, that Todd Bowles has done a poor job of that throughout his tenure as a coach. Do you know that since week 17 of the 2015 season, he is 11-24 as a head coach. Now I know what you're going to say to me. Oh, he hasn't had the talent. He hasn't had the quarterback. He went from Ryan Fitzpatrick, then Ryan Fitzpatrick went bad, and then he went from Fitzpatrick to Bryce Petty, and then Bryce Petty to Geno, and he's had a motley crew of quarterbacks. Duly noted. But I don't buy into this narrative that they haven't had talent. They haven't had offensive talent. I will be the first to tell you. I'll probably tell you that the Jets have probably ranked bottom of the barrel as far as offensive talent the last 3.5 years. He's had young players with potential that have come into their own since then, but for the most part, the Jets have not had offensive talent. But defensively, I feel like we've had the talent. And our defense has, at best, been average with him. And I feel like our defense is better than that. I feel like our defense has more talent than that. And at best, they've been average. And he's a defensive guy, so I gotta hold him accountable, would you not? If you're judging a coach who happens to be a defensive coach and his defense is consistently average to just above average, that has to go on the coach, right? Like, he's a defensive guy, right? Like, I'm not gonna blame him for the offense. I'm gonna blame him for the defense, the side of the ball that he specializes in.
I think the defense is part of the reason why he managed to win as many games as he has.
I guess maybe I watching as many Jets games as I do, I will tell you that defense has folded big time in big spots. You saw it again last week, but it's just the overall picture, man. It's that this guy consistently gets outcoached by other coaches. Like I've seen him get outcoached. He got outcoached by Hugh Jackson last week in the second half. Completely outcoached. His time management is if you're a Todd Bowles supporter, you cannot, you could at least give me, he's terrible with time management. Terrible. Now I know a lot of coaches struggle with that. I get that. But
give me some examples.
Bruh, last year against the Steelers, against the Steelers, right? Against the Steelers last year. And I may be fogging a little bit on the details, but shit, it was last year. Against the Steelers, I remember it was 4 minutes left in the game. It was about 4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes left on the clock. You haven't stopped the Steelers the entire game. Somehow, this is a competitive game. Somehow you're down by one possession. You have a 3rd and something. Obviously, the play doesn't result in anything. You end up at 4th down. He decides to punt the ball. You haven't stopped the Steelers the entire game. So with 5 minutes left, you're giving the ball back to Ben Roethlisberger, Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown? Why? Why would you do that? Go for it. Either way, you're going to lose this game anyway, so why not go for it? Be aggressive. Who knows? Maybe, again, against a Steelers defense that isn't exactly the steel curtain, by the way. Why not go for it? Why, you know what? Maybe they jump off sides. Maybe they, a pass interference, a holding call, whatever. Roughing the pass, whatever. Sometimes you got to be aggressive as a head coach. Sometimes you got to understand that, hey, sometimes this is what kills me with coaches. Like, sometimes you have to realize who's on the other side. Like, when you're playing Tom Brady, I'm not giving Tom Brady opportunities to beat me if I can avoid it. Same thing with a Roethlisberger. Same thing with an Aaron Rodgers, with a Drew Brees, a guy like that. Sometimes you got to coach against the guy that's quarterbacking the other team. I'm not letting that guy beat me. And what happens? He gives them the ball back. Jets never get a touch of the ball. Never. Never again. They just run plays after plays after plays. They go down the field, kick a field goal, game over, essentially.
You know that's a no-win situation, right?
In a way it is. And I'll be fair. In a way it is. But I don't know. But I just viewed it. I'm like, right now, you're a team that's not expected to do much. You have nothing to lose. Why don't you go for it? Be aggressive. He's never aggressive, or he's aggressive in the wrong times. Like, he goes for it on fourth down, like in the first quarter, like with 10 minutes left in the game. Like, why was that? You go for it there, but you don't go for it in the fourth quarter when you actually need it and it can actually be something beneficial, but whatever. But just time management in general, like, he's used up all his timeouts with, 3 minutes left in the third quarter. I mean, I've literally, again, I don't want to retrace every single game. Of course, like, I don't remember every single instance. I'm just telling you from history and the things that I've seen him do. I'm just saying the dude is just terrible at time management. Terrible at time management. Horrible. And it's just a constant. And then this team finds ways to lose games like that all the time. Bruh, when your best defensive player, Jamal Adams, basically says, we were not prepared for Baker Mayfield. And me and you got into it. We got into this debate. Whatever. I said, bro, okay, I get it. Preseason is preseason. You don't see, but you mean to tell me that the Jets didn't have at least a knowledge of Baker Mayfield? They scouted him. They were willing to draft him with the third pick had Sam Darnold not been there. And had Cleveland not picked him. They were willing to draft Baker Mayfield. They love, from all the reports. Now, say you want to believe that or not believe it, whatever. Let's just say they love Baker Mayfield, right? I know for a fact, I gotta believe, right, that Todd Bowles was in these scouting meetings, right? Todd Bowles has at least a little knowledge of Baker Mayfield, right? I mean, I'm not, naive to believe that Todd Bowles has no knowledge at all of Baker Mayfield. You mean to tell me Todd Bowles can't put in a tape of Oklahoma? He can't put in a tape of preseason where Baker Mayfield, again, I know it's preseason, but it's something. But for your team, for your defensive captains to say we were totally unprepared for Baker Mayfield, who am I putting on? I'm not putting it on just on the players. I'm putting it on the coach and the coaching staff.
So you want to prepare for a guy who wasn't going to play?
How do we know he wasn't going to play? But see, this is the thing that it's not like, but Ken, it's not like we're talking about CJ Beathard coming in and replacing Jimmy Garoppolo. You want to tell me it's a situation like that? Okay, I buy it. But everybody knew at some point or another Baker Mayfield this wasn't a secret. Baker Mayfield at some point or another was going to play. Matter of fact, there was calls for Baker Mayfield to play weeks ago. So this is not
Tyrod Taylor.
Yes.
To replace him in the middle of the game.
Okay, I get that.
The circumstances and how he got in the game, we've already discussed. A concussion.
Got it.
The man, Baker, didn't even know he was going to play that night.
I think that had the game continued the way it was, because remember, we were dominating that game, 14-0, blitzing the shit out of Tyrod Taylor. Like, we were just completely dominating the game. Had the game continued that way, I feel like eventually Baker Mayfield. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just guessing here. I'm not saying that I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. I feel like at some point Baker Mayfield would have gotten into that game. Now, maybe it would have been too late and all this would have been a moot point. Whatever. I'm just saying that you mean to tell me that none of you guys even had at least an inkling that, geez, maybe if Tyrod doesn't play well, they might put in Baker in this situation. National TV game against the Jets, against Sam Darnold. Who knows? Let's just prepare for the sake of preparing. They couldn't have done that.
From the way I understand it and the way that they go through practices throughout the week, they don't typically devote time to guys that's not going to see the field. They prepare for the start. I
get that, but it's not like, hey, this was some third string backup. This is the number one pick in the draft. And there was already at least a feeling around the organization that Tyrod was on a short leash. Maybe not that game. But at the very least, there was a feeling that Tyrod Taylor was not long for the position. So
we've seen instances in the past where guys, backups come in and light it up because the team isn't prepared for them. It's not like you're citing something that's not.
I'm not just saying that game though, but I feel like that game is a microcosm of the Todd Bowles era. We do just enough, and at the end of the day, we beat ourselves. And I think part of that is coaching. Now, yes, Sam Darnold could have played better. Sam Darnold played his worst game. Matter of fact, worst game probably I've ever seen. And I watched most of his games in college. Believe it or not. I watched a lot of his games. I'm on the West Coast, so I watch a lot of USC games, unfortunately. I watched a lot of his games. And that was probably the worst, one of the 2 or 3 worst games I've seen him play in 3 years, 2.5 years. That's the worst I've seen him look as a pro. So yeah, but I'm smart enough to know that he's a rookie and he's going to have performances like that. I'm sure Baker Mayfield's going to have performances like that where he just, you know what I'm saying? I get that. I understand that. So I'm not going to put that on Baker. I'm not going to put that on Sam Darnold. I'm just not. Like, could he have?
No, well, yes, you can.
Well, okay. I'm not going to completely give him a pass, but I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, yes, this game is on Sam Darnold. I'm not going to sit there and say that completely. He's a rookie. The coaching staff didn't put him in. I felt like Jeremy Bates called a terrible game. Handcuffed him. Didn't give him the offensive coordinator. Yeah. I'm like, yo.
Oh, he's doing a terrible job.
I'm like, go deep once. These dink and dunk short passes. I'm like, what are you doing? Open the playbook up a little bit. Like you have what? And this is another thing too. This year, I feel like this is the most talented Todd Bowles team he's had. Like Quincy Enunwa is the most underrated receiver in the game. Like he's a beast. Nobody talks about him because he missed last year with a neck injury, but he was beasting in 2016 and he's breaking out so far this year. Robbie Anderson, I don't know what the hell is going on with Robbie Anderson. He's fumbled in the first 3 games. He just hasn't played well. Robbie Anderson's an idiot. I love him, but he's an idiot. He gets in trouble all the goddamn time off the field. But I think teams have figured out Robbie Anderson, that he's a deep threat, that you put a physical corner on him, you press him a little bit, he's not going to do much. I think teams, and he hasn't made the adjustment yet as a receiver. So I think that's part of the issue. But I mean, we have talented receivers like Terrell Pryor. Say what you want to say about Terrell Pryor. Terrell Pryor is a talented receiver. Old boy from Seattle. What's my boy's name? Man, his name is slipping my head right now. I can't remember his name. The receiver from Seattle that we got. He's a solid slot receiver, or a solid slot possession receiver. Like, we don't use him at all. Like, what is the game plan? Bilal Powell, criminally underused again. Crowell had a bad game. Oh, he had a decent game, but Crowell's hit or miss sometimes. Like, Crowell will have a big game, then have a nothing game. So he's really inconsistent. Like, I just feel like we didn't give Sam Darnold the opportunities to make plays in that game. And that hurt us. But, so is it all on the coach? No. I think if you're slicing a pie here, I think Todd Bowles deserves at least 60% of the blame because he's the coach. And I think Sam Darnold deserves 40% of it. Or it might just be 50-50. I think both of them share some blame. Absolutely.
Man, you can't throw. He had 2 chances to win that game. 2. And he threw 2 terrible passes. I'm not gonna, but he's a rookie. He's gonna have games like that. I get that. Now, if this becomes a trend, he's in the same game. Yes, you can. Now, if this becomes a trend where he's throwing bad interceptions week in, week out for 6, 7, of course, now then definitely we have some concerns here. But listen, I don't think Sam Darnold's the problem. He's the least of the problems with the Jets, if you're asking me. He's not the problem. I'm not saying he's the problem because, you know, he has a lot to learn. Baker will be humble too. All these Baker Mania fan people, they'll get their moment. They'll be shut up real soon. But my thing is that, was it expected? I don't know. Like, I'm looking at the game and I had a feeling, because the Browns are the Browns, that, you know what, Sam Darnold is probably going to put them in a position to win this game. Somebody's going to make a mistake, and he's going to end up winning the game. Then he threw the first interception. I'm like, okay, rookie, I get it. But then he had a second time to get the job done, and it was even worse than the first. So, I understand that everybody loves to say that, the best thing about him is that he compartmentalizes. He put those mistakes behind him, and then he just moves on, and he just plays the next play. But bro, you gotta take care of the ball.
I agree.
You have 2 chances to win that game. The first one, completely okay. You're a rookie. You're learning, so that's fine. But the second one, my God, you can't do that.
I agree.
I'm with you on the offensive coordinator. He's not letting this guy throw down the field at all.
But that's where Todd Bowles as a coach has to step in. Like, he's the coach. Like, yo, what are we doing here? Parcells would have did that. Belichick would have did that. Like, yo, what are we doing here? Let's go. Open this playbook up. Like, hey, what are we doing here? Like, we're not facing the 73 Steelers here. Like, let's go. I know Cleveland's got a great defense or a very good defense, but they do. And their defense is legit. I'm not discounting that, but like, yo, you got to make some plays. Like you can't just play this conservative ass dink and dunk play. Like, you got to at least take a shot. They didn't even take shots. They didn't even take shots down the field. I think they took one shot down the field. One in the entire game. I'm like, come on, you can't win. You can't do this to this kid. Like, come on. And then they're not right. I know what you're saying, that you think I'm being too hard on Bowles. Like, I'm just saying after 4 years, like.
I think you've been traumatized. You've been through 3 years of a team that you want more out of than was capable of giving.
I just feel like last year, and everybody says, and part of this is me being pissed off at my own team, because last year we threw bouquets at ourselves. Oh, we won 5 games. Everybody expected us to lose 16. I'm like, you went 5-11. And you guys blew 4, 5 easily. Ask Jet fans. The game against the Steelers, they blew so many. Remember Austin Seferian-Jenkins last year? How many touchdowns that he got reversed in the end zone because of that stupid, touchback rule and what's a catch, not a catch? Like, just don't even get me started on that.
Yeah,
but
that's not his
like,
fault.
I know that's not his fault, but I'm just saying those were 2 instances, a game against the Patriots where we blew, like, just countless games last year that I'm just like, bro, like, if we were just getting smashed and hammered week in and week out, even I as a Jet fan have to say, like, yo, well, this guy has nothing. But it's like, we've had opportunities to win games. We've had opportunities. And for one reason,
the losses that you guys experience like that just speaks to the quality of the product on the field. I think people were happy about the 5 games because they didn't expect that. We all know that the Jets overachieved last year.
But I'm just not trying to applaud mediocrity. That's just me as a fan. I'm like, okay, you won 5 games. That's like a team in the NBA. Oh, we were supposed to lose 60 games, but instead we're 33-49. Like, okay, you still.
It's not applauding mediocrity. I think is looking at that situation and saying, and possibly saying to yourself, man, imagine if or when we get the guys, what could we do?
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
And that's probably. Look at Jared Goff, man. Like, I still don't believe he's the man, but I can't knock what's happening. This guy is lighting it up, and we've seen what the Rams struggle with that quarterback position for the last few years. Mm-hmm. They finally got the guy, and Jeff Fisher was.
It's Jeff Fisher. Yeah, I was about to say it's Jeff Fisher.
Yeah.
So,
but no, when I look at this, man, when I pick when I say the names Ryan Fitzpatrick, Geno Smith, Josh McCown, Bryce Petty, some guy named Lacka Edwards.
He was the punter. But
okay. So that therein, I'm on Pro Football Reference. Therein lies the problem.
He threw a pass. I guess that's why they listed him.
Yeah. I didn't even know he was a punter. That tells me, like, the quarterbacks that they've had, they just threw out there. Just pick a person and threw out there. Understandable, he was a punter, and I'm not saying that he was a quarterback, but it was to the point where the Jets really didn't have any passes. Well, shit, I didn't know if
Right.
I just don't know of many coaches that can win with those names.
And again, I will admit that have we had the talent that, we should go 11-5? No, but I don't know, man. I'm a Jet fan, so I'm not the right person to talk about this topic with, because I'm going to look at it from a different perspective than you are. But I'm just saying, like, I just look at Todd Bowles and I'm just like, he's not the guy. He's just not the guy. I'm not inspired by this guy. Like, I know I'm not a player, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like the confidence, like, that's my coach. We have a chance with this guy. Like, I just don't. Like, I see too much of the same trends all the time that I'm just like, are we really winning with this guy? So I don't know.
Preventing missed opportunities that you've seen as a fan that have watched every single game. But I ask you, like, what are your expectations? Like,
I feel like this year, I think we should.
Just the last couple of seasons in general.
I think the first year we should have made the playoffs. There's no reason we should have lost that game to Buffalo.
Right,
like that to me, and that soured a lot of Jet fans on Todd Bowles. To be honest with you, like that, if you're a coach, that's a game you have to win. I'm sorry. Weeks.
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I get that, but still, that was a game because I'm telling you, bro, like I think there was a point where we were down like 21 points to the fucking Bills in that game. Like, that's week 17. You just came off an emotional victory against the Patriots, your hated rivals, and you let your team come out flat like that. Whatever. Be that as it may. It's 2015. Then it's 2016. Then it's 2016. Remember, Mo Wilkinson got his extension. Ryan Fitzpatrick got re-signed. They just drafted Hackenberg. Everything was looking up. The defense. Oh, this is the year the defense takes the next level, takes next step. And what happens? Locker room turmoil. Brandon Marshall and Sheldon Richardson don't like each other. I mean, we go a disappointing 5-11. Most people had the Jets after they started 2-0. Most people had the Jets going, at the very least being a wild card team, being again 10-6. They have a disappointing year. Then they strip it down completely, decide to rebuild. Then it's the third year where everything just basically gets stripped down, destroyed. Our owner's even gone. Our owner's out being in, don't even get me going on that, on his idiotic ass, being the damn ambassador of Great Britain. I mean, so we're not expected to do anything. And somehow, like, we go 5-11, but we go 5-11, see, this is why you can't just analyze the record, because you have to see what the games were and how they got to 5-11. I can argue that we, at the very best, we could have been 9-7 last year. The games we blew. I mean, we blew countless games. We had to get, we had a performance against Buffalo where we just dominated. That game last year on Thursday night where the defense was out there, dancing and jigging and all that. And then we come out 10 days later against the Buccaneers, against a terrible Buccaneers who at the time were like, 3-7 or something like that at that point. And then we just get lit up in Tampa. Like, just no energy, just come out flat. Even the players in the locker room said they came out flat. Like, who do I put this on? Okay, you want to say the players are responsible because they play? I get that. I understand that. But as a coach, you have to have your guys ready. You have to have your guys ready to play. Win or lose. They have to be ready to play. And it's just like, I just don't see it. I don't see it. But hey. And then this year, think about it. We won a game in Detroit. Okay. Were we as good as we played that night? Probably not. But then we come out, we lay an egg against the Dolphins. Now the Dolphins might be a little bit better than everybody expected them to be. Okay. I easily feel like we should be 3-0 this year. Like, easily 3-0. And I know.
Yeah. 2-1 at least.
At the very least 2-1. At the very least 2-1. I would argue
Taylor would stay in the game.
Yeah, but I don't want to make this. A jet rant session. I want to get to other topics. I'm just saying, man. Todd Bowles. I don't know. This is a big year for Todd Bowles. Like, to me, he's with this team, with this talent now. I think he should at least go 8-8. If he doesn't go 8-8, 9-7, then I think he should be fired. Like, I think that.
His ability to get something out of nothing, has saved them thus far.
It's not going to save them this year.
I think now people are saying, hey, we got your quarterback. So we need to see some progress.
Exactly. And progress to me isn't 6-10. Oh, well, he won 6 games last year. He won 5. Like, no, that's not like real progress, like trending upwards. Like, this is okay, the Jets are building something here. Like, if we go 7-9, but we blew 4 games that we easily could have won, that's not progress to me. Again, this team is currently constituted, and I don't think I'm overrating them. I think they have the talent to at the very least be 8-8, 7-9, or 8-8 and 9-7. I don't think that's crazy talk. Like, I think we have legitimately the talent to go 7-8, or 8-8, 9-7. Now, will that happen? Who knows? I think if he doesn't get that job done, if he does not get them to 8-8 and 9-7, then he should be fired. because he's been here 4 years. It's not like he's been here 2. Been here 4 years. And at that point, 3 of those years have been losing seasons. So, like, at the end of the day, it's a results-driven business. But let's move on from Todd Bowles, because we can go all day talking about Todd Bowles. What you think about the Le'Veon Bell situation? Go ahead. My bad.
The results-driven business, I understand people say that, but that has to be contextualized because there's only so much you can expect from what you're given to get the result.
I agree with that. I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. But when you're analyzing coaches, when you're in these situations, at the end of the day, you know what matters: wins or losses. That's all that matters.
They just use that blanket statement to support their decision.
I guess. I mean, hey, I guess. Is it fair? I'm not saying it's fair, but I think that you can't just say, oh, well, we got to give Todd a pass. I mean, even though he's, 11-30 as a coach, like, we got to give him a pass. Like, I think at some point you also have to say, like, like, you had opportunities. Like, okay, we probably didn't give you the best talent, but at the end of the day, like.
But the organization has to have reasonable expectation based on the quality of product that they're giving these coaches.
Okay, so if this, so if they go 5-11 this year, do you think it's?
I'm not just speaking about Todd Bowles. I'm just speaking
in general. Yeah, I know what you're saying in general.
Yeah. So, I think the organization they have I don't think these organizations sit up and say playoffs. I think they on a board somewhere they have an idea of how many games they're projected to win. And I think sometimes coaches, it depends. Sometimes coaches, and it depends on the organization, are great on whether or not they hit that mark or they went above that mark.
I feel you.
So yeah, it's, of course it changes from organization to organization, just depends on what the internal expectations are. And most organizations know that they don't have crap when they put crap on the field.
Yeah. I agree. I agree to a certain extent. I do. What do you think of this whole Le'Veon Bell situation, man? Just moving on. What do you think about this whole Le'Veon Bell situation? How's it played out, and where do you think it's going?
Here's what I said, and I told the guys this in a text thread about 2 weeks ago, and I think it was when Antonio Brown did show up to work. And I said that if I was the Steelers, I would trade Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell.
Both? Really?
I would get rid of both of them. Both. I sure would. Le'Veon Bell has basically played himself out of Steeler Nation. The Steelers don't negotiate with terrorists. They just don't.
They don't.
They have a way of doing business, and they've done it since they've been in business. And they don't fire coaches, and they don't overpay for players. They have somewhere on a spreadsheet a number of how much they want to pay for each position. And you can be as talented as Le'Veon is. If you exceed the number, they're not going to pay you. Because to them, the coach can go out and win games with a guy named James Conner, with a guy named Willie Parker, with a guy named Rashard Mendenhall, with plug in and play any running back there. That's just how they do. So, as great as he is, they just don't feel like he's going to be worth what they're asking, because that probably is going to impact what they can spend elsewhere.
Absolutely.
So that money they can spend upgrading the defense. And I know they have a lot of young defensive talent that they're still trying to get around, if I remember correctly. But yeah, no, I'd get rid of them. Because I would give me some draft picks, and draft picks in the NFL is extremely hit or miss. But you can get some quality players and build more of a team.
The only thing I disagree with is that I think that they've let the situation play out too long, that now I don't think you're going to get anything of value, because no team is going to trade for him knowing that he's basically a rental. Like, even if you extend him, like, what is he worth to you right now? Like, no team's going to give you a 1, and I doubt a team is. So think about it. If he leaves in free agency, the Steelers get a 3rd round compensatory pick. So essentially to trade him, they have to get something better than a 3rd round pick, right? You would agree. Do you really think they're getting a 2nd round pick for Le'Veon Bell? I doubt it.
At this moment in time, I think I agree with you. I think, they know that he's probably going to leave.
It's too far gone now. They might as well just let him sit out. And I think eventually he'll come back. I never thought I would say this, but he probably will come back week 10. So he get the service time, and it's their choice whether they let him come back and play or they just whatever. At that point, yeah, because it's too far gone now. Like, they let this bleed out so long for so many years. Like, I think if they were going to trade him, they should have traded him last offseason or, even the year before that, when they knew that they definitely weren't going to keep him anyway. Like, they knew that they were never going to re-sign him. Once Antonio Brown got that money, they knew, because the choice was between Antonio Brown and Le'Veon, and they chose Antonio Brown. So, and they did the smart decision, because at the end of the day, Le'Veon Bell, as much as I love him, as much as great as he is, he's a running back.
Mm-hmm. And, he said, I know people like to look at Antonio Brown as, the whole diva thing, and the first thing everybody likes to call up is Facebook Live. But Le'Veon has been in far worse situations.
Yeah.
At least Antonio.
And he's always hurt.
Right. So, when you know that you have a quarterback that's basically on his last leg and on his way out, he's probably trying to get one more ring. You can't afford to pay Le'Veon Bell because you need a quarterback. Now I know you drafted Mason Rudolph, and we don't know if he can play or not. People, it looks like he can play a little bit, but you can't handicap your team to a quarterback and a receiver, especially guys like that are very outspoken. Woo.
Damn.
That's just that's too risky.
Yeah,
that's too risky. You need that money elsewhere. So let him go. Find you a running back in the draft and move on.
I agree.
And if Antonio Brown keep acting up, ship his ass out too. Because you got Juju Smith. Schuster.
Yeah, true.
So Antonio Brown has just become expendable. If you ask me,
I don't know if he's become expendable, but I get what you're saying. Like, I do think that there comes a point where it's like, okay, the antics get old, and like, we're not winning with you. So at this point, but I don't think we've come to that.
They're winning with him, but for me, when I look at this, is they're making Mike Tomlin look bad. These guys.
But you brought up a sore subject for me. I've been a Mike Tomlin defender for years and years and years. But it's hard to defend Mike Tomlin when your team is undisciplined, as they are. Their team came out flat as can be last year in the playoff game against Jacksonville. They completely overlooked Jacksonville. They just weren't ready to play. Again, go back to that ready to play thing. And like, I just feel like Mike Tomlin, I mean, at some point, these coaches, you can't keep giving coaches a pass. Like, at some point, the coach does have to share some responsibility in how your team performs. I know people like this.
This with Bill Cowher. Same thing.
Don't bring me that. Don't give me that. Bill Cowher. Like, all right. Would you admit that for the talent that he's had, this current iteration of Steelers, we're not talking about the 2008, 2010 Steelers. We're talking about this current iteration of the Steelers. Would you agree that team has been a disappointment? This team has been a disappointment on the field. Like, they have not done as nearly as much as they should have done with the talent that they've had.
No, I disagree. They're winning games every single year.
Yeah, they go 10-6, 11-5, and then they lose in the playoffs every year. They can't beat the Patriots. They never beat the Patriots.
Steelers in the Bill Cowher went 15-1 one year and lost in the playoffs.
Some would argue.
It happens. Some went undefeated. Yeah, Super Bowl, but they lost in the Super Bowl. Like, teams have really good years and they end up losing.
I get that, but it's been a long time. But it's been a long time since 2008, Ken. And some would argue, and some would argue. Okay, I agree. I understand. I understand that, and I feel you. I'm with you on that. But I'm just saying, it's been a long time since 2008, and some would argue that he won with Bill Cowher's team. Some would argue that. I wouldn't necessarily, but some would argue.
Well, He's been to the Super Bowl twice. So.
They have, and he did lose the other one. I get that wasn't all on him. Just Aaron Rodgers played well that night, and that's what happens. I get that. I'm just saying, I'm still a Tomlin guy, but I can't sit there and act like he shouldn't at least have some pressure on him and shouldn't be on a hot seat a little bit. Like, that team has been a disappointment. And then
if he was losing, we could talk.
Yeah.
But in spite of every single thing that the media, every single day sometimes they're just, quote unquote, making up stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow every single season they manage to get to the playoffs and pull it around. That speaks to him and his ability to lead men and his ability to coach. And like I said, like the facts are the facts, man. Like,
I get it.
The same way under Bill Cowher. And you can look it up.
Yeah.
I did.
All right.
Because I was just like, am I tripping? I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't tripping. So I got a lifelong Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and I asked him, even before I decided to look for myself, I said, hey, man, this whole thing with Tomlin, he kind of brushed it off because he know that they don't fire coaches. And he said they kind of did the same thing with Bill Cowher, who didn't win nowhere near as many games as Tomlin has. And Bill Cowher actually won late in his career. And he had pretty good teams. And I just decided to go online and did Bill Cowher, lack of discipline and all kind of stuff. And it popped up and there were articles written about it. He had players that were suspended for drugs and all kind of stuff, man. Just all kind of stuff. So, it happened under him too. And the reason why I looked it up was because people love to pull Cowher out and say, oh man, they wouldn't do this under him. And it's a lie. It's a complete lie and farce. It's not a fact. And it's a poor, reason to get after him, guys. We're prisoners of the moment. And we get caught up in this whole era of, underachieving and, it seems like we're in a lack of discipline area. I hear that every time.
Yeah.
Somebody does something. It's
I feel like social media plays into that though. I feel like there's so many cameras, there's so much social media that it's I feel like now everything is seen. Like everything is more prevalent now because you got more cameras, you got this, you got that, every network, Red Zone. You just got everything is more seen now. Everything is more watched now. So, I'm sure that if you were looking at this from a complete unbiased standpoint, yeah, players are not doing anything they didn't do 10 years ago. It's just that it's more cameras, there's more exposure now.
It's amplified. Yeah, it is. And, I pick and choose who I argue with. But I think for me, I just wanted to make sure that, like I said, the debate shows contribute a lot to it too, because they sit there and talk about this stuff the same way we do.
Yeah.
But what happens is that stuff feeds over into Twitter and everyday conversations, and people don't even take the time out to look for themselves. They just regurgitate what they hear on TV.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that to me becomes dangerous, and that's why I pick and choose who I decide to have this conversation with. Like I decided to just check with Kyle. Kyle's a big NFL guy. He loves football.
Right.
So I figured if anybody would know, he would know. I said, Kyle, what's another team that is constantly ripped for being for having lack of discipline and all the stuff, that they say about Tomlin. And the first, and I threw it out there. I said Seattle, and it was like, yeah, that was the only one. But what do they say about Pete Carroll? He's a player's coach. He's a player's coach. And when Seattle was going through those issues, who did they blame it on? Richard Sherman, Michael Bennett, Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas. They blamed it on the players, and Pete Carroll, while he's received some criticism, it wasn't the same type of criticism that Tomlin received. And they eventually said, oh, Pete Carroll, it's always an excuse. Pete Carroll, he does this. He comes in, he's a rah-rah guy. Eventually, the rah-rah, people get tired of hearing him, and he's going on. And so it's always like a reason why, but it's never because he lacks discipline or there's always a problem. There was always a problem in the locker room, but it wasn't Pete Carroll's fault.
Right.
It was the dark-skinned player's fault. So, these are the things things that
right.
I look at and pay attention to, and with my small little voice, I try to, counter that where I can. And that's why, going back to Tomlin, it's like, get rid of AB and get rid of Le'Veon Bell and just start anew, because you flipped, it seemed like they flipped that team. He's winning with different players all the time.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel you. Before we wrap up, what's your thoughts on the whole roughing the passer thing? I mean, that's been the big controversy this whole week about the play, the roughing the passer calls that these officials have now been. It's basically the Aaron Rodgers rule. We all know it. It's, since Rodgers got hurt last year and there was a mandate by the league, we got to keep our quarterbacks up. And to a certain extent, I understand it, but my biggest issue with this league is that they're reactive instead of proactive. And everything they do is just, they don't consult these players. Like, why wouldn't you have a stable of current and past players? Hall of Famers, non-Hall of Famer, guys that play in the league for long. Like, why don't you consult these guys in these rule changes? And I think that's the biggest issue. They don't consult the players, then they come up with these rule changes that don't make any sense. And since the NFL is so fucking prideful, they're afraid to admit they make mistakes, so they dig their heels in more and more, that they just make themselves look bad. What do you think about this whole controversy with the roughing the passer and just everything? I mean, the Clay Matthews thing was a joke. Like, come on. Go ahead.
I mean, I don't like the rule. I think is weak. But what I guess my thoughts was, they're trying to turn this thing into the NBA. Chicks dig the long ball. Mm-hmm. This is all it is. So, it's the Aaron Rodgers rule. We just want to make sure that, the quarterbacks are standing up, and can play, because they are the stars of the NFL for the most part. And they want to do everything they can to make sure that they can be on the field to play, and that they're standing upright. But this game has historically survived playing the way that they have, with those hits. And there have been people that have suffered because of it after their playing career is over. Possibly, maybe they should take care of those guys.
Earl Campbell. Earl Campbell.
Right. But they just need to find a balance. Football is great. The reason why we like football is because of the long runs and the plays and the catches and the throws. But we also like defense, too. We like the hits. People love the hits. There's a video I tweeted of just big hits over the years.
Yeah.
And the game is just, it won't be the same. And it's to the point now when I look at it, I even have to question myself, like, why am I even watching this? Like, this just isn't good. But they're trying to increase scoring. So there was a Peyton Manning rule a couple of years ago when they changed the rules to the way the DBs cover, because he griped about that.
I think they're trying to keep getting, stop getting lawsuits is what I really do. And look, I can't knock them for player safety. Like, I think that, unfortunately, this isn't the 1970s. Like, we know what we know about concussions, what we know about CTE. I feel like I don't mind eliminating, helmet to helmet hits. I don't mind changing the way the players tackle for safety reasons. Like, I get it. I'm not a dumbass. Like, I understand that player safety is like, it is what it is. Like, do I wish that there was still big ass collisions? Of course I do. I'm a fan at the end of the day, but I get why they don't do it. I think the problem that I think most fans have is that the catch rule, how they've made that, how they've gaggled that. And now we don't even know what a catch is. The constant replays for every little thing. It's like they just don't, like, they take these little things that need fixing and they go too extreme with them, fuck it up. And then it just becomes a constant narrative and dialogue. And they're so they're so stubborn that they won't admit that they make a mistake, and they just dig your heels in more, and it just becomes an issue. I feel like with the roughing the passer, like, I get it. At the end of the day, the NFL is a business. I understand that. And ask the 49ers, do you want to watch CJ Beathard, or do you want to watch Jimmy Garoppolo? That's not an easy question. That's to go out of bounds. Well, yeah, but Be that as it may, do you want to watch Jimmy Garoppolo? Do you want to watch Jimmy Garoppolo or CJ Beathard? Of course, Jimmy Garoppolo. So like, there is a business aspect to this. I get that. I understand that. You got to protect the best players, but at the same time, you can't go too far. And again, they went too far. They went to the point where, oh, we got to protect these guys, that now it's to the point where you might as well just put red jerseys on them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty bad, but it happens every year.
Yeah, it happens every year. Yeah,
and then they adjust. It's I think they call this lean management, right?
Yeah,
where they're basically adjusting
real
time to the feedback and criticism. It's kind of like what you led in with. They're very reactionary. So, and because they don't consult with people that actually play the game, they have to adjust in real time to what the people that's playing the game are saying, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It takes a quarterback. A quarterback. Big Ben was like, I think these rough the pass rules are crazy.
Yeah, because they know.
I think he will love it.
Yeah.
So when you got quarterbacks criticizing, it's like, whoa. And when you got
I mean, just look at the Clay Matthews thing. I mean, come on. Like, the Clay Matthews thing was an embarrassment. Like, come on. How do you call that? How do you call that? Like, come on now. Like, at some point, like, there has to be common sense. Like, there has to be like, okay, like, what are we doing here, guys? Like,
yeah. I don't even get upset anymore, man. I've become numb to it.
But I feel like this is the first week that it's really now like, okay, this is this, because, they had that meeting in New York and, that report came out that even the NFL isn't happy with how some of the officials, but I think it's bullshit, because I'm like, you changed the rules, so now you're not happy with the outcome? Like,
and you're throwing it, right. You're throwing the officials under the bus.
Exactly. But they're always going to do that because it's easy to throw the officials under the bus. So, of course. So, yeah, I get it. I'm with you. I don't even get upset anymore because it's just like, you're throwing darts in the dark blind. Like, it's just, you're not going to accomplish anything. Yeah.
Right. And you know that they're going to adjust for it and they have, but, or they will, and we'll get back to playing some type of football. But I've always despised when they make these type of, changes because of injuries that happened to quarterback, like when Brady got hurt and they rolled up on his knee. They didn't. Did they do that for Carson Palmer? I can't remember. I think they did.
I think that was the first time they really, really made that. I mean, they went to the extreme with Brady, but I think the first time was the Carson Palmer thing in the playoffs. Yeah. That was the first time I remember it. Cause I was like, wow. Cause I remember the next year, like, they were really enforcing those low hits on the quarterbacks. And then when Brady got hurt, I mean, they took it to a whole nother level. Like, when Tom Brady gets hurt, like, nigga, when Tom Brady got to miss a year, like, we making some changes.
Yeah. So Brady, Rodgers, Carson Palmer, who has two, by the way, the tuck rule.
Yeah.
And then, the hit that happened to him.
Yeah.
Which is, in the same lane as Carson Palmer too. But hey, your boy Kirk Cousins, man, showed up right on time. Forced fumble.
By the time you guys listen to this, you guys don't know the score and the results of the game. Obviously, we're recording during this game. It was a good game. Really competitive game.
It was, but you can't. We actually was just talking. I think Raph was getting on guys that make mistakes at certain points in the game. And I can't remember if Kurt was one, but...
Oh, he better be one.
Yeah, when it's not if, it's when it happens. So Kirk Cousins is the new age Tony Romo, and his happened on the last play of the drive.
Yeah, it was a forced fumble. Yeah.
It was.
You got to protect the ball, though. I get it. You got to protect the ball. I get it.
Cost Brady a Super Bowl, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, we're going to get up out of here, man. We've blabbered long enough, man. Before you go, man, as always, go ahead, plug everything you got going on the Dead End. Everything. Go ahead, tell them where they can find you, where they can listen to the show, where they can support the show, etc. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Kenneth B Inge, at KENNITHBINGE. On Instagram is at KBINGE. Same thing with Snapchat. I need to get back on there more.
You do?
With Dead End. So I'm somewhat everywhere, but But DailyHipHop.com is the place to go. That's a good start. That you can find our videos there. And we have a tab for podcasts that are there. But if you want all of the podcasts that, we put out and that we back and support, then you can just go to deadendpodcast.com and they'll be there and you'll find, the shows there. And, that's it.
Cool, man. Cool. That's what's up, man. I'd like to thank you for joining me on the show as always, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate the invite, man. It's always a pleasure to come up here and, argue with you.
Of course. We'll definitely do it again. Do it again, man. All right, bro. Thank you for joining me on the show. And everybody go support Dead End Hip Hop, Dead End Sports. Is the mic still on? Is the mic still on? Everything. These guys do amazing work, man. Can't say it enough. They top of the line work. So go support it. If you are not, go support it. Yeah, man. Thanks for joining me, and we'll catch you next time, bro.
All right, peace.
All right.
Brothers and sisters, I don't know what this world is coming to.
You know what I hate? I hate when you're having a conversation with someone, especially for the podcast, and you have an agenda and you have topics that you want to talk about and things you want to cover, and you just go off on tangents and get stuck in conversations. And and not blaming Ken or anybody. It's on me. We were having a good discussion on a lot of different things, and we just skipped over the whole Jimmy Butler situation. I'm not really that interested in it anyway. I don't think Jimmy Butler's that big of a player that he should be demanding anything, and teams should be falling all over themselves to try to get Jimmy Butler. But be that as it may, I did want to talk about the situation since it's been in the news and whatnot, but we didn't get a chance to, so that's my bad. So wasn't that, we couldn't talk about it or anything. It's just that, we just ran out of time. So that's on me, get on these fucking tangents and just start talking about things, and too much Jets talk. That's what it was. But anyway, fouls of the week. Well, not really fouls of the week. It's, shout outs of the week. I don't have a name for it yet, an official name for it. When we actually don't issue fouls, we actually do salutes or, pats on the backs or kudos or whatever. We'll come up with a name for it. Maybe for the new show or for the new rebranded show. That's still happening, by the way. We are changing our name. Happening, what now? Almost in 2 weeks now. Maybe 3 weeks. Cause it'll be October, Monday? So, still a little behind on the design and the name and stuff, but I am planning it to happen soon here. Trust me, it'll happen. I'm off on a tangent again. But anyway, kudos or salute of the week to the Carolina Panthers, man, for signing Eric Reed. That was amazing today. That was major. I love that story, man. Eric Reed, who was a Pro Bowl safety, who had gone unsigned all off season into the season, who had filed a grievance along with Kaepernick against the NFL for collusion, signed a 1-year deal on a base salary of $1 million. I think it's an incentive laden deal. So I think with incentives and Pro Bowl and all that, it could be up to almost $2 million. The money doesn't even matter here at this point. The fact that the new Carolina Panthers owner, David Tepper, who took over for Jerry Richardson, and we know how such an amazing person he was, a guy who in his first press conference as an owner of the Carolina Panthers basically expressed his respect for guys taking a stand, for guys kneeling and protesting. And this guy followed up, put his money where his mouth is. Now, mind you, the Carolina Panthers didn't have a need at safety. But forget all that. The fact that he was able to go out there, and I'm sure the other owners probably didn't love it. I'm sure that he was probably advised against it by some folks. You never know these things. He went out there and said, no, let's sign this guy. He's 26 years old. He's a former Pro Bowl safety. He's a guy who had a good year last year, filling in a variety of roles for the 49ers. He's a guy who can play safety. He's lined up as an outside linebacker. I mean, he's a very good player. Eric Reed is a very good player. The fact that he doesn't have a job, you want to tell me Kaepernick, even Kaepernick is bullshit, but I can somewhat understand Kaepernick. But the fact that Eric Reed, 26-year-old safety, guy who's been a borderline Pro Bowl caliber player, and he doesn't have a job because he took a knee He was one of the first guys to defend Kaepernick. He kneeled alongside Kaepernick, his teammate at the time, one of the first guys to defend him. So he gets punished for that. That's bullshit. And no wonder he filed a collusion. Filed agreements. So he finally gets a job. And that's just so dope, man. It's major. I can't even express how awesome that is, man. I love seeing that shit. I hope Kaepernick gets signed. I still have hope that some team will come to their senses. Look, this is what drives me insane. The 49ers, and I know that there might be some issues there with Kaepernick and the Niners organization. I can't stand the owner anyway. Jed York is a fucking jackass anyway. So I'm not a fan of the owner, but I get that. And I get there could be some issues there, but you mean to tell me that the 49ers would rather play CJ Beathard and his 50% passer rating than just take a flyer on Colin Kaepernick? At this point, what do you have to lose? What do you have to lose? Your starting quarterback is gone for the year. He is gone. He's not coming back. You got CJ Beathard, who's, let's be honest, and look, the kid may be a great guy, but he can't play quarterback in the NFL. He's not that great. He was terrible last year. Terrible. Awful. Come on, man. You seriously? You can't give Kaepernick a try? Are you going to end up in that much of a worse situation by giving Kaepernick a chance? So I still have hope for Kaepernick. I still have hope that some team will come to their senses and sign him. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. But, it's good to see Eric Reid back in the NFL. That's dope, man. And I think he's going to help the Carolina Panthers. He hasn't played football, so he'll be in good shape. I think he'll be chomping at the bit to get out there, prove that he was done wrong. And I think Eric Reid's going to ball out in Carolina. I really do. I think this is a good signing, and I'm glad that the Carolina Panthers did it. So that's awesome. That's dope. Yeah. So that's my kudos or salute of the week. Eric Reid. That's dope. That's really dope. Anyway, I'm done blabbering. I'm going to get up out of here. As always, thank you for listening and supporting and subscribing and all the things you guys do for the show, man. I say it every week, never gets old, and I will continue to say it every week. Without you guys, there is no podcast. So thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for supporting the show, man. I really, really appreciate it. As always, you can find the show on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn Radio, anywhere where you can find podcasts for free, you can find this show. As always, follow me on Twitter, The Emmanuel Brown. Follow the show on Twitter, The TF Podcast 1. Follow me on Instagram at The Emmanuel Brown. Follow the show on Instagram at The TF Podcast. Follow me on Snapchat, MannyBro15. On Facebook, Emmanuel Brown. Look me up. I'm there. And also follow the show on Facebook, The TFP or The Technical Foul Podcast. And then also join our fan page, TFP Nation. So, as always, man, thank you for supporting. Thank you for listening to the show. I am your host, Manny Brown. We will be back next week, actually about next week. So obviously with the wildcard games occurring on Tuesday and Wednesday, I'm going to probably do a show. Not probably. I'm definitely going to do a show sooner than expected. So I'm going to probably do a show on Monday, a baseball preview or, MLB postseason preview show. I'm trying to line up a couple guests for it. We'll see how that goes. Tentatively trying to line up a guest for that show. So we'll see how that goes. If I'm able to secure the guest that I want, then we'll definitely do a show on Monday. And I'll probably still do something on Monday. We'll see. I'm not guaranteeing it. But I'll definitely try to do a show on Monday, and then I think I'll do a show on Wednesday. I'm not sure. I'll keep you guys posted on Twitter as far as the show and what we're going to do. I might just drop a secret album. I might just drop a secret show out there. Like just do it. Boom. Sunday night. Might just do it Sunday night, man. After the baseball season is over, just say, fuck it. Just drop it. Secret album. Like the Carter 5 supposedly is supposed to drop tonight. So we'll see. I'll keep you guys posted on Twitter. But yeah, man, definitely will be a new episode next week. So, whether it's Monday or Wednesday, it remains to be seen, but it'll definitely be a new show next week. But anyways, man, thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting the show. Thank you for being fans of the show. I am your host, Manny Brown, and I am out of here. Peace. Enjoy the week, everybody.
Serious, sir.